do it just to the computer.
Oh, wait, by continuing the meeting, you're consenting. Okay, and then just one thing that we forgot last time, I guess, was like after I'm done with mine, just make like you ask me a question and then I'll ask you a question when you're done first.
Yep. So
I gotta click continue. Okay, we should be good.
alrighty.
Okay. Whew. All right. The usage of phones in today's world seems to go unnoticed as the technological advancements in our society have dramatically improved over the years. From teens to elders, adults, it seems that just about everyone has a smartphone or is connected to a touchscreen device in some shape or form through our daily lives. With the help from Psychum, Guardchild, and Child Mind Institute, I hope to better your understanding of the dangers of teenage cell phone use in today's world. Many people are unaware of all the gadgets that the touchscreen devices bring, but the group classified as teenagers knows the devices inside and out. To start off, Psychum states from a 2018 research report that 45% of teens said they use the internet almost constantly. 44% said they go online several times a day, which was 4 to 10 was what they gave for the number. 50% of teenage girls are constant online users compared to guys who are 39% constant online users. But in the grand scheme of it all, with the people they tested, 95% said they have a smartphone or smart device of some sort. Those numbers are indeed very scary, and those numbers are very scary, and had conducted the numbers are showing that it is only continuing to rise. I look at my own high school, for example, and take into consideration that the student population isn't very big, as I live in a small town, and the population in our small town is 600. And for our high school, it's roughly around like 75 kids in our entire high school. But those numbers conducted from a nationwide basis seem very low compared to where I go to school. On a daily basis, as I casually just walk through the halls and peek into classrooms, I always see kids and they have their book bags and books set up on their desk in some shape or form, trying to hide their phones from the teachers so that they still can be engaged in the social media aspect that their phones bring. Now, I know I am guilty as the average teenager who spends time on their phone, as I find myself scrolling through the Twitter feed or checking for updates for Clash of Clans. But in the big picture of it all, the future of America is in trouble. Moving on to the social and communication part of phones. In my opinion, I believe with the increasing amount of technology in this world, it is destroying not only teenagers, but us as humans in general. Look at the communication part. I think that people in today's world lack the common knowledge of just talking to one another. Not saying they can't accomplish something like this, because each of us humans has the ability to exchange information or have a conversation with one another. But I feel that with smartphones, it has made that ability less useful. How can we help regulate phone usage with teenagers? You may have to confiscate their phones, but a report from Beth Peters, who is part of the Child Mind Institute, states, when you remove a teen's lifeline, which is their phone, from their friends, there will be a major emotional backlash and then a breakdown of the parent and child relationship. So, with that said, the bond between the parents will be deteriorated, which only makes the situation worse instead of being better. A major problem going through my head with smartphones and teenagers is the term bullying. It gets tossed around all the time. In this case, with the usage of phones, it would be considered cyberbullying. From dictionary.com, cyberbullying is the use of electronic communication to bully a person, typically by sending messages of an imitating or threatening nature. If there is legit bullying going on, which is most typically in today's world happening now through the internet, it tends to put kids more at risk. For example, embarrassing photos could be leaked over your Snapchat, Instagram, which only makes the situation worse and more punishable for the bullier in the future if they get caught for doing these actions. Quickly covering a danger of the smartphones is pornography. That has been an issue that has been increasing over the past few years for teenagers. Guardchild.com says 90% of all children from ages from 8 to 16 have seen pornography sometime during that age throughout their life. 71% of girls and 67% of boys have sent sexual content, as in photos, to another person. Those are scary numbers that are rising and can only get you into trouble and can only get you into serious trouble in the long run. I quickly now have a video. before I end this. It starts off with her asking a question to a professional.
But give us a sense, what are some of the big concerns of parents when they are trying to decide whether to give their child a smartphone?
Yeah, it's a great question, and there's so many
I'll just go
questions
like this.
to
It's
think
not
about.
going full screen.
You know, sometimes we think about, well, maybe at a certain age we should give our kids a phone. At 13, you should have a phone. But I know a lot of really immature 13-year-olds who can't handle it. I know a lot of really mature 9-year-olds who can. So it's less about the age and more about their maturity level, their understanding of.
So as you can hear him like saying, it's not about the age, it's about the maturity of a person. So you can say, as he said, a 13 and 9-year-old, it's the same thing in today's world. You can have, like, no offense, but you say you have like a special needs kid who has a phone, and then you have, or who does have a phone, and then you have like a 9-year-old who doesn't. That 9-year-old probably has a little bit better of a maturity level than that special needs kid, but they still have a phone, and they could be abusing it, and they're at a higher age, which could put them in risk of trouble with the law. We are all aware of the dangers that smartphones can bring to all of us, but with the basic knowledge of knowing right from wrong and not just giving into pressure, I feel that the world could possibly change. With the help and statistics from some sources I used, I now hope you have a better understanding of how dangerous the smartphones can be. We all know the phones have their advantages as well as their disadvantages, but with thinking before doing, I feel we could change the given circumstances we are dealing with right now to make this world a more safer place through the internet.
In your research, did they come across any apps or any websites in particular that were problematic for teenagers?
Yeah, yes, for teenagers, yes. Obviously the obvious one that like a lot of people think of right away when they think of teenagers is Snapchat, because like it still is, but like when you share photos and stuff, obviously you can set a time limit, but once you click away from it, it's gone forever. But you can screenshot it. But now what they're doing with the research, there's actually a place based out of, well, it's based out of Pierre for South Dakota, and it's with they'll scan and like say like I would get into trouble for posting or sending sexual content of a girl, a female, and they catch wind of that, they can turn me in, and then the state has the access to confiscate my phone, and they can go through. It's a long process, but they can go through and pull that information right out and like show, here's the evidence right here. Even if I say I technically deleted it, it's not deleted. It's not gone forever. It's still in the cloud and in the software.
Alrighty, and one more question. You mentioned taking the phone away led to a breakdown in the parent-child relationship. Did they have any good suggestions on other ways to go about it?
There's like, I don't like, as for me, when I was researching, they didn't, that was like the number one like example they use for what parents are trying to do with teenagers is just simply confiscate the phone. They also did like little other tedious stuff like just basic household chores or stuff. But then with the kids, if they're feeling like they're being violated of their privacy, because that's like the one thing they have, and that's the first thing they get usually, that there's their own privacy, their own thing. And if when they get that taken from them, that's what disrupts the connection between the parent, or like the bond between the parent and the kid. That's what disrupts it, because it's their privacy and then it's getting taken from them. But what I use for confiscating the phone, that was the number one thing they did, but that is turning into a disaster.
Alrighty, thanks.
Yep.
Think you're good. Alrighty.
Yep.
So, all right. So I guess that makes it my turn.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I'm not good with public speaking. So
Yes, you nailed your last speech, so I'm getting ready to be blown away again.
get my notes in order here. All right. Across America, on Friday nights, Saturday afternoons, and all day Sunday, Americans are watching football. Not European football, but American football. A sport started in the mid-1800s that continues to rise in popularity today. North, South, East, West, football is by far the most watched game in America, and its championship game, the Super Bowl, is the top viewed sporting event worldwide. Football is a game of 11 people versus 11 people. The point is to move the ball down the field. You have 4 chances to move 10 yards. You move the whole length of the field, you get 6 points. It started out in the mid-1800s as a way for young men to express masculinity. The American frontier had been mostly explored by the 1850s. Conquests were mostly done. There was no war going on at the time, so young men had to find a way to prove their masculinity the way their fathers did. So at colleges across the Northeast, they developed the game of football. It was developed from rugby, and original football was much different than the game we have today. It originally comprised of 11 on 11, just basically smashing into each other as much as they could. There was no passing, there were no helmets, no pads, eye gouging, kicking, as much violence as you could imagine. It took about 20 years for helmets to become standardized. The first official organized game of football was played by Rutgers, the University of Rutgers, and Princeton on November 8th, 1869. According to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, that was the start of the Ivy League, which gained popularity throughout the Northeast. The oldest professional football club was formed in 1899, and that is now today known as the Arizona Cardinals, but at the time was the Morgan Athletic Club. In 1905, President Teddy Roosevelt, seeing that the game was gaining popularity, but also was very violent and led to many deaths, pushed Congress to enforce safety precautions, which became widely accepted amongst football. The rise in popularity of college football led to the rise in popularity of professional football. Many leagues came and went throughout the early 1900s, but in 1920, 10 teams grouped together to start the American Professional Football Association, which later became the NFL in 1922. The only 2 surviving teams from that year are now the Arizona Cardinals, who were then the Chicago Cardinals, and the Chicago Bears, who were then the Decatur Staley. Another popular team, the Green Bay Packers, joined in 1921. And interesting fact, they are the oldest team to remain in the same place, having been founded in 1919. Throughout the years, teams came and went, and in 1932, a man by the name of George Preston Marshall joined the league as owner of the Boston Braves and forced the league to segregate from the years of 1933 to 1945. Other owners, trying to appease southern viewers and trying to gain popularity in the South, also adopted those rules. The Boston Braves later became the Washington Redskins, who remained an all-white team until forced by President John Fitzgerald Kennedy in 1962 to integrate. The NFL has had competition throughout the years. In 1960, the American Football League formed. It did well enough to compete with the NFL that the NFL eventually merged with the AFL, forming what we have nowadays as the modern-day NFL in 1969. The league started out as 2 separate leagues playing for a common championship, which became the modern-day Super Bowl. We've had 53 of those, over half of which have been won by a total of 6 teams. Patriots and Steelers have 6 apiece. The Cowboys and 49ers have 5 apiece, and the Giants and Packers have 4 each. Football today is played in multiple countries. This year we had a game in Mexico. We had a game in London. Popularity is going nationwide, but there's also concern. Kids are not playing at the same rate, which is leading to a lack of talent development. Most of that is due to fears of CTE, or chronic traumatic encephalopathy, which is caused by repeated hits to the brain. This is causing parents to keep their kids out of the sport, which is causing schools to phase out the sport, which is leading to, while we have all-time viewership, they're leading to a decline in participation. So where the NFL goes from here, we don't know. The rules are changing to adjust to a different world, and hopefully we'll still have the sport I enjoy in 20 years. Thank you.
I like it. So I take it football is your favorite sport?
Yes. I'm gonna.
Okay.
Oh, yep. Any questions?
Okay.
Sorry.
Yep. So I got a question. I got two of them for you. The first one, it's kind of non-related to what you talked about, but still with football. What do you enjoy most about football? Is it like the thrill of it towards the end of games when your team comes out on top, or is it just like the contact every play that there is, or what like makes that game so important to you?
Well, the celebration theme is actually what led me to this, but I went with a straight informative. I like the camaraderie of it. I started playing football the same year that the Houston Texans came into the league. And I was born in Houston, so that's why I became a fan. The whole family gets together. We will go down to the game. Me and my brother have made multiple trips across the country to watch the team. It's just the gathering of it. As with all sports, I like the idea of tens of thousands of people getting in one building for 3 hours for nonsense, essentially.
Right.
So,
yeah. Same here. And then my last question is, you mentioned towards the end, with like players and their safety and then hits to the brain and stuff like that.
Yes.
There's been very little, but some discussion, as I seen recently a post on, or a story on Facebook of high school players, college players, whatever. Like some of them are dying just because they're not healthy, but they're dying on the football field because of heat strokes and such. Do you believe like this will lead to maybe more like limitation? Like there's already rules and stuff that are being brought into the NFL, but do you believe there'll be more limitations that the nation will have to put on the game of football, or do you think it'll just continue as it is?
Absolutely. I saw it. I went to high school from 2002 to 2006, and I saw it alone over the chain from 10th grade to 12th grade. They started mandating things such as water breaks. We had to have mandatory every 15 minutes, regardless of what drills are going on and things like that. And I think you'll continue to see safety precautions like that. In my research, I should have mentioned it, but some schools are adopting the idea of non-tackle football up through high school and just developing skills such as passing, throwing, running, playing essentially flag football until they get to 18, 19 and have developed a little more to stop that buildup of damage there. So.
Perfect. That's all I have for questions.
All right. So I was a little nervous, but I think we both got through it.
Yeah, we got through it. I think you did great. I was very interested in what you had to say.
So